In this video, I'm going to show you the magic button that's going to 10x the quality of your mixes without changing anything about your process. If you don't know me, my name is Tyson. I spent 4 months working as a professional mixing and mastering engineer on a laptop and a pair of these headphones. And also, during that whole time, I relied on this one magic button to ensure that my mixes sounded great, even though I was mixing on headphones. And beyond that, this magic button should be used at 2 very specific points in your mix to get optimal results while you're mixing. So let's dive into the DAW and I'll show you exactly what this magic button is and how to use it. All right, so let's dive into the mix and talk about what is the magic button that we're gonna be using. It is very simple. We go over here and it is under the gain plugin and it's the mono function on our mix bus. So we can set this on the mix bus or the stereo. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is to make the mix mono before we actually start mixing. The reason this is really critical, especially on headphones, but also very helpful if you're mixing on normal outboard monitors, the stereo spectrum is going to mess up what we hear based on our listening environment, whether that's headphones or speakers or anything else. And mono helps make the mix blend as much as humanly possible so that we actually have to work harder in the mix to create that separation between elements, the clarity that we're looking for, as also blending the instruments, just leveling together. So the volume balance or the level of various elements together needs to be exactly correct in mono because there's just this overlap that's fighting against us each way. So then when we take this off and everything's stereo again, we get this massive payoff because we did a better job. We worked harder to get everything in the right spot. And then when we go back to stereo, everything's just magically in the right spot. So let's talk about the 2 stages of the mix where this is the critical button that you need to push before you start that stage. The first stage is the volume balance. So if you don't do this during the volume balance, then you're going to end up with a lot of issues, especially when you're mixing on headphones, because headphones tend to sound a little bit louder on the outside and a little bit quieter when things are in the center. So you're going to naturally compensate for that. So the result is your vocals, your kicks, and your snares tend to be too loud in headphone mixes, and your guitars or anything else that's panned out to the sides is going to be too quiet on headphones. Again, so putting everything in mono completely disregards that, and we can do a really awesome professional volume balance on headphones. So I'm just going to go through here, hit that mono button, and do a really quick volume balance through this song, and then we're going to come back and then show you the next stage of the process where it is very critical to be using that mono button. So hang on your chairs for just a minute. So here we go. I'm going to dive in, do this all on headphones, and see how we do here. All right, so here we have our volume balance. Now take the mono off. Here's what we have. Again, on headphones, this is one of the hardest parts of the process, but in mono, it makes it so easy to do. So again, obviously we have a long ways to go in this mix still, but we're at a really good baseline before we dive into the rest of the process. So the second part of the process that you need to ensure that you're using this mono button, especially on headphones, but really anytime you're mixing, is during this stage, the relational EQ stage. This relational EQ step is really about building relationships, as the name would imply, amongst the various elements of our mix. The reason this is so critical to do in mono is because, again, that blending of frequencies is going to help us do a better job when we're actually at this stage during the process. So if we don't have everything in mono, we're going to think that there's lots of separation frequency-wise between various items, and there's very little masking going on, especially on headphones because it's the perfect listening environment. 100% of the right channel is going to my right ear, and on the left, 100% of the left channel is going to my left ear. It makes it very, very easy to assume that my mix is separate, clear, there's no like masking going on at all that is hindering my mix from being clear. But in reality, this whole relational EQ process of building relationships amongst these items is so critical to do in mono to blend all of those things. Your mix is going to feel far clearer. It's going to feel way bigger at the end of the day if we do this in mono. This is the magic of creating clarity in the mix by separating these elements and ultimately being able to create more space in the mix and actually have everything be perceived as louder because it's not going to be fighting with other elements in the mix, and they're each going to live in their own little tiny area, and it's going to be great. So let's dive into this and also how much mono is going to help us. Let me grab my headphones and we'll get started. All right, so let's get started. So the way that I'm always going to approach this is from like a bottom-up standpoint. So I'm going to be focused on the elements with the lowest fundamentals. That's going to be the kick and the bass. Then I'm just going to work my way up the mix. Because remember, our mix is shaped like this. There's less room on the bottom and way more room at the top. So I'm going to dive in when I'm the freshest into those more trouble spot areas, such as the low end and then the low mids and then the mids, right? And by the time I get to like 5K or so, it doesn't really matter where everything is overlapping because there's just so much space in the mix. All these like little tiny harmonics are going to be separated anyway naturally. So let's start diving into the bottom end of this, creating these different lanes for each element to live in. So let's go and start on our kick here. All right, so that kick is already pretty high. I'm trying to move it down a little bit. And then let's take a look at our bass. All right, so it looks like it's actually pretty much out of the way of the kick, which is great. But we're just going to do a small cut there anyway, just in case there's any like random notes that go down there. All right, so let's look at the next lowest elements in the mix. So we've got our kick, so our snare is going to be in there, and then our rhythm guitars are probably the next one here. This whole range, right, all the way up to 5K-ish, they're just super meaty and living up everything. So we basically have to take into account not only their fundamentals, but also everything above that as well. So one way that we can actually tell if there's masking going on is to actually go through and start muting stuff. So I'm going to be focused on, say, the rhythm guitars, and I'm just going to start muting other items, or alternatively, I can listen to everything else and then mute the rhythms and see what kind of pops out of the mix. Because if that happens, if something pops out, then that means I know, oh, there's masking going on. If anything's just significantly clearer when something else is muted, that means that there's this negative relationship between those elements. So here we go. Let's just hit play and mute these rhythms, and we'll see if there's anything else that pops out of the mix. So there's a little bit in the vocal, but I think the main area that I'm hearing this is in the leads here. And also the leads here. And so these are definitely masking each other as well. So we've got this crazy relationship between the leads, these two lead parts, lead octaves, and also this rhythm. So we're just going to take all of those. We're going to add some EQs here and start figuring this out, how we can separate these. So the technique I'm going to be using here is really focused on the rhythm, and I'm going to just be sliding around with a kind of narrow Q value, about 1. And I'm not going to go up to 10 because it's going to pop out of the mix everywhere if I do that. But I'm just going to go, 3 to 5 decibels. I'm just going to slide all the way across, see what pops out of the mix. At that point, that's when I know that there's a lane there that exists that this rhythm guitar can live in, and I can leave it there and then address that same area on the other ones, cutting them, and then do the same exact technique. So let's get started. So I'm hearing right here, and then also right at that 2K. That's the other area. I I think the 2K is going to be our big bet here. All right, and then let's go to our leads. Let's go to the lead. And go back to the section here. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and cut that 2K range by about 3 decibels at a relatively high Q value. So we're just notching it out right there. And that's right around that 900. Actually, I think a 600 sounds a little bit better. All right, and then lead octaves. So we cut at 600, 580 minus 3. 2.5, 2.5 minus 3, 2000. Yeah, right there, the 1.4. That's perfect. All right, and then let's address that right here. Oh no, those are the lead octaves. Those are complete now. Now we have our lead. Narrow cuts there. And we're just going to boost the whole highs just a little bit, right? Because we're losing so much energy right here. It's going to sound a little bit weak. And then we can start cutting where we cut before. So 580, or we boosted, sorry. That's 1.4, 2.5 minus 4. All right, so we can just hear the clarity already coming from this element. So here's before this EQ. And it's just a big mass of just distorted sound, right? There's nothing really valuable coming from here. And then after, so now I can actually distinctively hear, oh, there's actually more going on here than just this wall of sound. And I can really, really hear just all three of those parts come out and come to life after that. So I'm really happy with where that's sitting. Let's keep moving through the mix. I'm going to speed it up here, and then we're going to come back and give you a kind of before and after of clarity here on the entire mix. So here is the mix. We've just done some quick, easy relational EQ moves. So just listen to the difference though now, how much more clarity there is in this mix. Again, we're still in mono at this point, but once I take it out of mono, all of a sudden you're going to get this massive payoff because we did so much more effort to try to separate these items in mono that in stereo, everything's going to be really, really separate. Even spatially, right? They're going to even feel bigger. And this is one of the secrets to really, really wide sounding mixes is that there's so much separation frequency wise that we can actually have this really wide, powerful mix. So here we go. Here's before, and then I'll turn it on for after. Even the snare is just popping out way more, sounds cleaner, and overall really great. So let's go ahead and take it out of mono and see what that sounds like here as well. So here we go. So when I'm wearing headphones, I can tell that it seems like those guitars on the side are really, really loud. And they are loud, but in reality, I know that my lead vocal is still the loudest thing in my mix. One quick way to test that, if you are curious and you want a little extra tip here at the end, is that you actually just take your stereo out and you move it down to basically nothing. And then you bring it up just so you can barely hear something. And then that's going to be the loudest elements inside of your mix. So if you ever get confused in the volume balance, this is how you can check that. Just make sure that those main elements in your mix are still the main thing in your volume balance. So here we go. So I can hear that main vocal, I can hear the snare, and those two things are definitely the main part, which is great. It's exactly what I wanted in this mix. A little bit of guitar there, again, which is fine. This is loud. It has loud guitars. There's a lot of guitar parts in here, so everything is sounding great to me. Let's just check the verse really quick. So even just a little bit of intentional EQ work to separate things, making sure we're using that mono button, just transforms this entire mix into something that was, decent, but had a bunch of clashing frequencies and masking going on, to having a really clean, just more powerful mix. Everything is just sitting better in its spot. And I didn't change anything, but just a couple of tiny tweaks with EQ. So this is the power of the mono button. In these two steps of the mix, make sure you're using it in your volume balance as well as the relational EQ section. Anything that involves one element versus another element is really the key time that you should always be using that mono function inside of your mix. All right, with that, thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one.